Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rebecca with Off-White Living, and I'm going to give you a tour of my kitchen. I live with two other people. This is actually not my house, but the house that my husband and I rent in Davis, California. And we have a pretty good sized kitchen actually for a rental house, and that's because we were fortunate enough to find a professor who would take us in and let us live here. So we've kind of have an adult house for a college town, which is really great. Got all the basics, obviously, refrigerator, sink, little island in the middle, pots and pans, stove and everything. But I do want to kind of let you see a little bit about what I call my laboratory, because I spend a lot of time in here cooking and concocting ideas and obviously making yummy food for myself and my husband and our friends. This is one of my favorite spots in the kitchen because this is where we keep all of our fresh produce that we get from our local produce market called the Yellow Food Stand. And we have a very creative and artistic gay landlord, so we have little reminders of that all over the place. It's pretty funny. So this is where we keep all of our yummy food, and this also helps me see what I have to cook with that doesn't have to be refrigerated, but sort of like, okay, am I going to cook something with zucchini because it's going to start turning, or I've got to use these tomatoes in a couple days. Look at how awesome these heirloom tomatoes are. This is something I got for 99 cents, which is pretty good for an heirloom tomato. Locally grown, no pesticides. Yay for the Yellow Fruit Stand. So that's where I put all that stuff. Obviously the sink and yada yada there. Little counter space. We don't have as much as I'd like because our lovely homeowner is quite a collector, but we do have some really cool and really nice pitchers that I like to make tea with, like for herbal iced tea, water, things like that for when we have guests over. We keep all of our food in a drawer. I'm not suggesting this is ideal, but at the same time, it's kind of cool because you can get this bird's eye view of what you have. Believe it or not, this is organized. I spent some time organizing this, and I'll just show you a few things that we keep as our staples. One of them is whole oats. Always have whole oats, not just for breakfast, but for making energy bars, for using as filling in things like salmon, burgers, stuff like that. It's kind of like our wheat, or our regular flour. Got some local honey that we got at the co-op that I buy by the pound. I love the fact that it's kind of opaque. It's just sort of like right from the tap kind of honey. We've got some dates, which we keep a lot of. These are from Costco, Medjool dates. Pretty spendy, but at Costco they're a good price. And I use these instead of sugar when I bake a lot. We've got some pistachios, courtesy of my mom. Yum. Some walnuts. I use these a lot in baking or throw them in the oatmeal. And then this is our sweeteners. This is turbinado sugar that I got actually at Winco. This is about 3/4 of a pound of sugar. I don't keep much more than this at a time. Honestly, I can't keep too much sugar in the house because I find ways to use it. And even though it's a, quote, better sugar than a white sugar, it's still sugar. So gotta watch for that. But instead, I use this. This is stevia. This is something really cool that my friend Andrea's boyfriend got for me. And it's actually a little container. Let me see if I can open it up and not blur you. And it's actually got these little flavored liquid stevias for like my hot chocolates, things like that. Yum. We've got some spelt flour here. We've got some rice flour in the back there. Our ginormous bag of quinoa. We got this at Costco as well. So if you look for the green bag of 5 pounds of quinoa, pretty sweet deal there. We got our little metal bottles and our splash guards, etc. So this is our drawer, or one of them, where we keep everything. Obviously the refrigerator where we keep all the fresh stuff. The other thing that I love about this house is the fact that we have this pot and pan holder. This is a great thing to put in your house. Notice how it's by the window so that because we have low ceilings, you can't put it in the middle of the room like they traditionally are, but it's great way to get the pots and pans out of the way of being shoved in a drawer. It's pretty small, so if you don't have a huge repertoire, this is a good size. I don't know where you get these because it came with the house. It also helps me see what I have to work with really, really easily and quickly. This thing is actually proved to be really cool. I can put it over pots and pans, and it helps me to like when I want to drain things, or if you want to have something not boil over, etc. So kind of creative. And then a really nice colander here, which I use a lot to obviously drain fruits and vegetables. Also sometimes to just chop up fresh fruits and veggies and put them in there for us to use really quickly. A toaster oven, haven't used that actually. Our other drawer that holds all of our dry goods, this one's a little bit messier. This has got our canned stuff, our wasa bread, our teas, and our protein powder. I always keep a stash of that for baking and for protein smoothies because they're my favorite. Pretty good amount of counter space, but the best part about the counter space is this middle island here. It's got all the bowls that you need for baking and simple food preparation down here, so you just reach under there and grab one. And then it's got this surface that you can actually chop on. I bet this is like an IKEA or Williamson-Sonoma thing, or Linens and Things, something like that. Pretty easy to find. But it moves around so you can get it out of the way when you need to. Over here, a little more counter space, which is fabulous. All of our little baking utensils, I use all of these a lot. This is a brush for brushing on oil and herbs for like the chicken I just threw in the oven, for instance. A baking spatula for scraping out like a mixing bowl. A whisk, obviously. Wooden spoons are really nice for soups and stews and sauces, things like that. The ever important knife block. Just remember to sharpen your knives. These knives are as dull as can be, and it's actually more dangerous. So I'm hoping that I can bring my knives back from Oregon. This was a little find that I'm pretty stoked about. It's actually a spice grinder, and in it right now I have some star anise that I ground up recently, so that's kind of cool. Didn't have that in my home in Oregon. This is our lovely gas stove. Love gas. It's so worth it because you can control the heat better. It's really true. And then our really, really useful teapot. I boil all my water. I don't microwave water. It weirds me out. Even if I'm making oatmeal or something, I will put it in the teapot. And that pretty much sums up our little kitchen here. More counter space. This is where I spend a lot of time. This is where people gather. That little stool in the corner, little stool down here. People just kind of end up hanging out here when we have parties. So it's pretty cool, and this is my little home for now. So thanks for hanging out in my kitchen with me, and I'll see you next time.